When you look into Discover Student Loans, what you see might surprise you. We can help cover your college costs, don't charge you fees, and give you cash rewards for good grades. Ready to apply? Visit discoverstudentloans.com. Limitations apply.
Tired of guessing your glucose levels all the time? How about a better way to manage your diabetes? Introducing the Eversense E3 CGM system, the only 6-month continuous glucose monitoring system. With real-time glucose readings every 5 minutes delivered to your mobile device and exceptional accuracy over 6 months, Eversense E3 gives you readings you can count on.
For important safety information and to learn more about Eversense, visit eversensediabetes.com/safety. Accuracy evaluated in adult populations with 2 calibrations per day or less.
This is Find Your Daily Calm. I'm Sel Gaston. Welcome. Our guest poet today is Arnaud Saint-Paul. Over the last 20 years, Arnaud has been a philanthropist, an award-winning entrepreneur. He lives between Los Angeles and Paris and travels throughout the world while having a successful career in finance and technology. After studying different religions and philosophies to understand himself, Arnaud's purpose today is to open billions of hearts and help them to find harmony within and around them. Today, I am sharing with you the fascinating conversation I had with Arnaud Saint-Paul about helping 1 billion people open their hearts to themselves and being in perfect synchrony with self. May you find calm and deeper meaning in listening in on our conversation. Enjoy. Wonderful conversation that we will have with Arnaud Saint-Paul. At Find Your Daily Calm, we have been finding ways to help you find your calm on a daily basis, if that's all possible. And we hope you have found the calm that you've been looking for over the year that we have been in broadcast and we've been on the air. But today is a special day because we will have this conversation with a fascinating person, and his name is Arnaud Saint-Paul. Arnaud?
Hi. Thank you so much for having me. And you were talking about calm, which I associate with presence, right?
Yeah.
Peace. And how can we have that throughout the day beyond just the meditation moment is one of the most beautiful gifts we can make to ourselves, indeed.
That is true. The presence. And for everybody's information, we just had Arnaud over at the show. Well, not him personally and not live. We had his recording. Apparently, Arnaud is also a poet. And the poetry that he shared with us were done both in English and beautiful, elegant, flowing French. And our listeners who are also French speakers have given us comments that they felt the calm because it's quite different. The difference is that they've been hearing English meditation or works of literature over the past several months, but right now, today, they heard beautiful French. And those were 3 poems. It was Arise, yes, Presence, yes, and Trust.
Yes.
We urge everyone to please check it out. And we had Arnaud there. Arnaud, I believe you that calmness is directly linked to presence, because how would you explain calmness if you're not present or if you're not in the here and the now? Tell us about how you would explain that perspective to a person who's starting to practice mindfulness.
So, funnily enough, I recorded this morning a 1-minute video about presence.
Yes.
In leadership. So it's perfect in cue and aligned as it should be, right? Presence is when we are in direct contact with our essence. It's a place of peace. It's a space within, right, of being in tune with ourselves, with our own inner silence. That's the place where we are in the heart of a heart, where we can hear our heart's song and tune, and where we are in perfect synchrony with ourselves within the scope of who we are. And it's obviously an utter simplification of that moment, right? We're really tuning in very, very, very precisely to the simple state of this moment. And from that place, we have clarity. We have a perfect mirror that doesn't have any flaw and brings us back our reflection, like one of these lakes in the high mountains, and we're just looking at ourselves, and we're revering that moment of silence and communion with ourselves. I think that these would be, and from that arise feelings like a acceptance and surrendering and trust and compassion towards myself, towards the others, etc. That would be my little definition.
That's a new perspective for most people, and even for me, Arnaud, because the calmness that you mentioned with the presence is not really what you would call, it's literally silent because you intended it to be silent, but there's a lot of things that's going to happen, some enlightenment, some aha moments, even in those silence. And I think it's in those silent moments that we really discover new things.
Yes.
In the noise, it's just noise. It's clouding everything. It's cloaking all the things that we need to know in a way that we will not be able to see it. So.
And to that point, I have one of the tools I offer is called the triangle of awareness, where to give you an idea, at the base is I am that I am, so that I heart, right? That pure unconditional love that we are at our essence, that where we find that calmness. And at the top, there is the I do, the human self, right? That is really raptured by the web of beliefs of past, present, future. All that seems to be confusing, right? And so in between these two are true, right? But we most of the time are focused on the second one, on the human aspect, and going down in a very easy way to our core essence, as we mentioned earlier, is what we do in meditation and in any and many other ways. And we can live these two truths at the same time throughout our present moment, whatever is the activity we are working through. And by letting go of the identification we have with what is unfolding, which is basically what happens in meditation. That's what we learn, right? And so all of a sudden we become more of ourselves, and we're not anymore subdued by whatever happens and unfolds in our present moment, in our reality, and find that inner calmness again and again and again, that inner silence, the void, right? It is void and it is not void at the same time. It is the richness also of who we are, if that makes sense.
It clearly makes sense, but I have a question, Arnaud, and this always comes up at our show, and sometimes people come up to me to ask this question. And the question basically is, what would you say to a person who wants to understand what meditation and mindfulness is about, when that person has been all her life, have been always about command and control, understanding this, understanding that, taking control of results? So they've been used to being able to have a hand in outcomes. So some of them would say, "What? I know what I'm doing. I know where I am, and I know what answers to find." So clearly, they want to understand what that perspective is about being here and now, and meditation per se. How do they start? How would you ask them or tell them to start?
I guess first there is a need of finding the why, right? Before giving the method per se. And there are many ways to illustrate this why. One of them that just showed up as you were talking, and is that most of the time, these people that are in that control mode and control the outcome, as you were mentioning. They will be focused on an extreme aspect of their polarities, whether they are experiencing the masculine or the feminine polarity. They will be on the outskirts instead of being at the center where they can really make a difference for themselves. In other words, they are spending a lot of energy to control and to get these outcomes, etc.
Yeah.
And therefore they are not in an optimal space for themselves. So hence afterwards starting the traumas and then the issues, the physical issues, etc., etc., etc. Now, what if we were to pause for a second and be in the middle between the masculine and the feminine energy, accepting all that I am instead of negating part of me, right? And from that place, I'm in an amazing leverage point where I can actually achieve way more than what I was doing before. And on top of that, it's a lot more effortless compared with the former way of being and doing. So that may be a why for the person to say, okay, I want to try, right? So let's start with that. And then how to try, which was a part of your question. Obviously, it's unnatural at first, right? So for that person. So what if we start small with the whole idea is not necessarily the meditation itself, but more to create a space for ourselves. In other words, not being chasing every aspects of the reality to make things happen, etc., but to start having a space, a moment in time that is regular, meaning it's recurrent, it happens every day at the same time. Having that recurrent space where for 5 minutes, 10, 20, 30, obviously that was better, but I am always focusing on the same thing, whether it is a gratitude journal or a small meditation, something that is about me, something that allows me to start listening to myself. So, and foregoing the outside, between quotes, experience of reality, right? And obviously, as I go deeper, as I allow myself to have that space, I can start using methodologies like meditation, transcendental meditation, or any other method that will start helping me to allow the experience to happen. And that's a key here. It's not anymore about controlling, it's about allowing. That's a huge difference, right? Because the silence is there. We just don't allow it because we're always looking at different things, and this thing is shiny and that other thing is shiny and so on. But for this noise to exist, there is need of an existence of a silence, right? So by default, the blank screen on which we're creating our reality and our life is silence. So instead of focusing on the notes, why don't we look at, or better said, being present to the silence between the notes?
I loved how you said that, Arnaud, because when you mentioned notes, it's pertaining to music. And there was an artist, I think it's a musician, that says the music happens in between notes. So the pause, which is the silence, is where the music happens. Fantastic. Now, how about those people that says, I know, I tried meditation, I sat down, and a minute after, I hear so many noises. This part of my torso is itchy. I would have a scratchy nose, or I would suddenly get an allergy. This is so effortful, not effortless. How should I reframe or start again?
One is to stick to the discipline, number one, in any case, because one of the things that we learn in our experience after a while is that all these itchiness thoughts, emotions that are showing up during these moments are not ours per se. We don't have to identify to them. They may be an expression of a part of ourselves, yes, but they are not necessarily a something that conditions our experience. We have that choice of identifying to it or not. And the role of the meditation is actually to detach ourselves from the outer reality, from whatever is being felt or thought at that moment. At first, it feels unnatural, obviously, because that was the whole idea, all the, for the past 10, 20, 50 years, whatever, to continue doing that. But as we go and move forward on that front, it starts to become natural to just, something shows up. Like when you're meditating, I don't know if you have that experience, but all of a sudden there is a bubble of thought that appears.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes I'm going into it and boom, I'm being this and this and that. And then, I get out of it, right? So,
Nice.
same for emotions or whatever. But there is also the possibility of seeing the bubble coming up and then go, right? So we have that choice. So realizing and taking the option of making a pure choice, a conscious choice around that is paramount, because it's the only way you can actually becoming a conscious leader of your company, of your personal life, etc., etc. A leader of your life that is not on autopilot all the freaking time and being driven by all the beliefs, fears, emotions, thoughts that we're going through.
You mentioned autopilot, and in the past 2 years, specifically before the first quarter of 2020 happened or was concluded, when before the lockdowns happened, everyone was on autopilot. Then suddenly, we were all grounded, like airplanes told to stay on the ground, no takeoffs, no trips, and we saw, everything, all the mayhem,
Yeah.
especially the internal mayhem. What experiences did your friends or people who come up to you told you about, Arno, this is what I'm encountering, this is what I'm feeling right now? I'm curious. There are streaming services that turn our brains off. Mindless entertainment. And then there's Wondrium. Wondrium has thousands of hours of vetted information that you can't get anywhere else. This wasn't just like adding another streaming service with 100 new shows I'll never watch. This is enriching my life. I started with a free trial and got through a new program entitled Overcoming Your Overthinking on the health and mindfulness section, and now I can't stop. There are over 8,000 hours of educational content. Do you think you know everything there is to know about what you love? Think again. Take what you love and learn even more about it with thousands of documentaries, series, lessons, how-tos, and more. All the engaging and educational streaming videos are led by IRL experts, not celebrities who play one on TV, and are carefully crafted to help you think more about what you love and love it even more. That's why I love Wondrium. I never worry about the quality of information I'm getting. It's all been vetted. The streaming platform offers thousands of objective, unbiased programs and documentaries from respected experts who really know their stuff. At Wondrium, you can learn through engaging video and audio learning experiences, interactive how-to guides, documentaries prepared and done by teachers, professors, and experts who will inspire you and remind you that learning something is fun and exciting. Explore all of your wonders with Wondrium. Your brain will love it. That's wondrium.com/dailycalm. That's DALYCALM. Sign up today at wondrium.com/dailycalm to get unlimited access with a 14-day free trial.
Well, I guess it depends on the people. There were a lot of people that were experiencing fear and not understanding what was unfolding, obviously, and how it depicted their own state of being, right? Because you see all these things that are happening in our reality, whether it's these confinements or anything else, is always a reflection of ourselves. Now, I think for the people that were working with me, they totally understood that it was a beautiful moment to go deeper within and have at last that space of allowing themselves to explore further who they can be and become, right? And that is, we've been fortunate enough to have that as a society level. And interestingly enough, since that happened, we have now people that are asking themselves deeper questions than before. We're now talking in business of, how to include love in business, which seems to be totally counterintuitive. And that's why the kind of message I carry starts to become really relevant nowadays, and that we have stand a chance a few years ago. So yeah, it's interesting how the overall consciousness of society is evolving, and we need this crisis to upgrade ourselves, to grow.
It's true. It has shaped us in forms and ways we never imagined before.
Yeah.
Right? You have CEOs right now that didn't care, didn't give a damn about giving mental health breaks. Now, all, not just the millennials, not just the Gen Z saying that they need a mental health break. Even the Gen Xers and the Boomers are saying, I need that mental health break, where formerly it was just somebody for people who are seeing psychiatrists. But right now, it's a different thing. Now, Arnaud, there's something that I liked about your mission, and you said to bring harmony, or to allow 1 billion people experience harmony.
Yes. To find,
tell us about that.
Help 1 billion people to open their heart to themselves. That's my thing. That's my little mojo. I discovered that life purpose about 10 years ago, I guess. And frankly, that's what fills my days, and I'm super happy to be able to carry out that mission. In the end, any heart that can be touched and helped to blossom to itself, it's a beautiful gift, right? Whether it's 1 or 1 billion doesn't really matter, but why not 1 billion while we're at it? And and if we can use technology to make that happen, then so that we can scale, amazing, let's do it, right? And so that's the journey on which I am. In other words, it's more about, in the end, it's quite selfish, because it's I want to be surrounded by 1 billion hearts. So creating a world of love, and but in a very pragmatic way, because interestingly enough, we're talking about the ego I and the heart I, right? Earlier, the I and the self, which is, by the way, the topic of my second book. And in the human I, or ego I, it's driven by scarcity. The heart I is abundance. And so if and when we journey from one to the other and becoming present to both, we start changing the paradigm within which we live in our reality. And therefore, we can see society evolving towards an abundant framework instead of a scarcity-driven one. And that's the journey on which we are globally, when robots are coming in and are going to bring a lot of abundance, and then space travel. I mean, many things are happening at the technology level that is bringing energy as well, that is bringing that abundance. But we are about to be ready from a consciousness standpoint to dabble into that abundance framework. And so all that we're talking about in this session here is actually applying to every single aspect of our lives. Pragmatically, I mean, every moment, whether it's a relationship with our partner, our kids, or in companies with our co-founders or employees or providers or clients, etc. All of it. And this is very, very important. Hence, this idea of being more mindful and ideally starting to get into more heartfulness
Heart.
is a place that not only will benefit the people we work with or we love, but also, and more importantly, ourselves. And
Yeah.
that's an amazing key. More importantly, because it's a direct path towards whatever vision you have in your heart, right? Whatever you carry in your life, a bit like my life purpose, which is to help 1 billion people to open their heart. Well, we all have something that is our song, right? And we want it to be seen in the world. And the direct path is to really start tuning in with our heart and having that beautiful dance between the mind and the heart. More people will start taking that path.
I sure hope so. I think we should repeat that because some people will say, wait a minute. Arno, did you say I heart or the heart ego and the I ego? These are two different things. And in the I ego is where scarcity is prevailing. And there will be entrepreneurs or would be entrepreneurs that would say, wait a minute, I need money. And in one of your interviews, I think this is fantastic when you said that's just a resource problem.
Mm-hmm.
And a resource problem could be something that you could see in scarcity or abundance.
Yes.
So speaking of the heart ego right now, or the heart, the I heart is a place of abundance. Now some people would say, okay, how do I switch from that if I am an entrepreneur or a budding entrepreneur that have resource problems?
Right, and that seems to be a very complex problem to solve, right? And unfortunately, or fortunately, it is the opportunity to start totally rewiring yourself from scratch. In other words, it's letting go of many false assumptions of how the world works and entering into to give you, I mean, we could spend a long time on that, but
Yeah.
in a nutshell, this world we are living in, right, that we have an experience of, and through it ourselves, on ourselves, is so this body, these thoughts, these emotions, the people in front of me, the table on which you are taking your breakfast, etc., etc., etc. All of that is vibration all the time. Nothing less than that. And so that has a huge implication, a tremendous implication, because that means, and I'm going to take some shortcuts and I apologize for that, but this is based on my personal experience and the ones of the CEOs I'm working with, is that it implies that everything is made or managed through resonance. So a table will resonate with a chair, obviously, but if I talk about mindfulness, then someone else will shortly thereafter starting to talk about mindfulness also in my world, because it's resonant. And so also, if I have a belief that mindfulness is not good, therefore I will always have people confirming that thought around me. So this is huge, because therefore, to get back to the example you have, is if I believe that I do not have money or that I cannot have money for whatever the reason, whether it's childhood trauma or coming from an archetype or whatever the reason, it doesn't matter, then I will continue having that experience. And it's only when I am able to change, accept what is, and accept what is now, and embrace it as it is, and then love it for what it is, then I am able to reframe myself into a more harmonious way, right? Where I am opened. Now I'm ready to allow whatever that needs to express itself to express, so that it can go, and then I can get to a new level of myself related to that specific topic, for example. So in other words, I'm slowly but surely, or it could go quick too, go from a scarcity model to an abundance model. So going from the ego I to the heart I, because I am gradually opening up the faucet of allowing and trusting and surrendering to what may come from that resonant universe in which I live. And that's huge. That's a big jump, right? That not everybody is willing to take. When we take it, that's when the magic starts.
Magic. True. I love that image of turning on that faucet of abundance. That is something a lot of our friends who are listening to us, watching us, that would grasp the idea. And it's also an allowing and an intention, an allowing of that intention to shift, to go to that mindset or that heart set, yes, where you switch from the ego heart to the I heart. Friends, this is fantastic, and being mindful of time. If we continued, I want to stay on with this talk, but but we're gonna have to cut this short and go for a part 2, because definitely there's a lot to talk about. It's not just Arnaud's voice that's soothing; it's his thoughts, his ideas, the concepts that he's sharing with us, the intention to help 1 billion people. That's a great round number. And I think, as he said, it doesn't matter whether it's one person or 1 billion people. And he would love to be surrounded by 1 billion hearts. Why wouldn't you too, right? I mean, who wouldn't want that, right?
I guess on the topic we were just touching on, we have a page, tapwat.com/harmony, yes, where you have a highlight of a workshop that is 3 ways to find harmony within, that goes slightly deeper on that topic. So happy, go there and subscribe there, because and there will be more surprises from that from then on that.
Definitely. And it'll be on the show notes, where these content you will be able to find, and at tapwat.com is the website that Arnaud. There's also your own personal website, Arnaud. Would you like to tell us about that?
Tapwat.com is more than enough. There's content there. So good.
Tapwat.com is where you could find that, get more learning from that, and be able to understand why you should set that intention of allowing things to happen and not just resist and totally accept the mindset or the heart set of scarcity.
Yes.
This has been fantastic. I want to stay, but I want to do a part 2. And hopefully we could get your voice again, your soothing voice, not just the ideas, but the ideas are fantastic. And we would like to have another session with you.
With pleasure. I would be very pleased of that as well. Thank you so much for these amazing questions as well.
Thank you, Arnaud. That was Arnaud Saint-Paul. You may find out more about Arnaud's work on www.tapwat.com. That's TAPUAT.com. On Instagram at _TAPUAT. On YouTube at C/Tapwat. On LinkedIn at company/Tapwat. Arnaud's website is www.arnaudsaintpaul.com. On Twitter at Arnaud Saint-Paul. And on LinkedIn at linkedin.com/IN/Arnaud Saint-Paul. We thank Arnaud for joining us today and for sharing his beautiful poetry. May you be calm, may you be at ease, and may peace be upon you.
Hi, welcome to your neighborhood pharmacy.
Hi, I've got a prescription for diabetes test strips. How much is the copay?
Well, it depends on your type of commercial insurance and factoring in your yearly spend, subtracting the deductibles, also depending on your monthly allowance.
Why can't there be a better option?
Or you could try Contour Next test strips. A 35 count's only $19.99 over the counter and proven to be highly accurate. Go to contournext.com/radio to see if over-the-counter strips are a more affordable option for you.
I think I'll try Contour Next.
Sure, we have 30 seconds to tell you that drivers who switch to Progressive could save big. But then what? Well, radio has been called theater of the mind, so let's tell a story with sound effects. Wow, it's like I was in the story. Almost makes me forget this was supposed to be about saving big with Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.